Hello, my name is Oliver Kinner.
And I'm Ian McAllister, and this is Brainwaves episode 123, bringing you the best in tabletop gaming news. These are the headlines for the week of the 12th of June, 2023. Upper Deck goes ravenous for a burger. Cardboard Edison awards are announced, and we speak to the winner. And a special report on UK Games Expo from our on-location reporter. All this and more on this episode of Brainwaves.
Let us start with a story of one company suing another. We've got Upper Deck, the company behind the legendary series of deck builders, who are suing Ravensburger over their forthcoming Disney Lorcana game. Lorcana is a collectible card game due to come out very soon and was drawing big crowds at UK Games Expo. And yes, I saw that as well, actually, but more to that later. So in a post on their corporate page, Upper Deck president Jason Mashira said,
"We invested significant time and resources to develop a new and novel trading card game. Our current leadership values the importance of protecting intellectual property of both Upper Deck and its licensors. We want gamers and fans to continue enjoying and having access to unique, innovative, and immersive trading card games. We encourage competition in the industry, but also strongly believe in playing by the rules to ensure the gaming community benefits from the different creative choices by each manufacturer."
An individual called Paul Lesko on Twitter went through a breakdown of the suit and what was involved. Paul is a plaintiff's litigator. The suit has Upper Deck Company as the plaintiff and Ryan Miller and Ravensburger North America as defendants. The filing starts out like this.
Upper Deck seeks to protect its intellectual property from premeditated theft by Miller. On a work-for-hire basis, Upper Deck engaged Miller as lead game designer to develop a major proprietary trading card game for Upper Deck called Rush of Icor. After over a year of developing Rush of Icor alongside Upper Deck, Miller terminated his contract with Upper Deck and, either before termination or just after, began working for defendant Ravensburger, a direct competitor. At Ravensburger, Miller transported his work product on Rush of Icor, knowing such work product was solely owned by Upper Deck, into a trading card game called Disney Lorcana, or Lorcana as will be referred to in the rest of this. This trading card game has remarkable, uncanny similarities to Upper Deck's Rush of Icor. Miller's acts in pilfering the game design Upper Deck paid him to create and using those designs to develop a competing trading card game for a competitor were aided and encouraged by Ravensburger, who now seeks to profit from stolen intellectual property. These acts give rise to a host of causes of action under California federal law.
So obviously this is a lot of legalese, but to translate it, we basically got Miller working for Upper Deck on a game. Then they left the company and took that design to Ravensburger, who allegedly made it into Lorcana. The suit goes on to detail the similarities between Lorcana, the Ravensburger game, and Rush of Icor, which is what Upper Deck is claiming Miller was working on originally, and lay out what it wants from the suit, which basically breaks down to not allowing Ravensburger to release Lorcana, payment for fees, restitution, return of the intellectual property. Paul goes on to say that he thinks the suit will rest on whether or not Upper Deck can prove that the design of Lorcana is a trade secret, or if it is too similar to other games in the genre. Paul believes that proving that it is a trade secret would be extremely difficult. The suit was formally filed on Wednesday, and Ravensburger have not responded since the filing. Well, first of all, thanks to Adam Richards from Punchboard for bringing this to our attention on the Discord. Again, it's the usual thing. It's interesting to see that Upper Deck are saying Ravensburger basically sort of enticed Miller over to bring the game with them and make it into Lorcana. It's obviously a very serious allegation in terms of the corporate world. And as a large company, or the huge company that Ravensburger is in their own right, I can't see Disney wanting to have this game stopped in its tracks. So Disney will also have a very strong legal team to help out here and try and bring the game through. I mean, generally speaking, from a personal experience, I think a lot of designers always say it is very hard to prove that their game was stolen by someone. So, a lot of games are very similar. So that's, as we said, that's what the whole case will rest on. How can you prove how different or how unique this game is to any other similar games? That it's clearly one is the same as the other. So I don't know.
Yeah. There's a belief out there that you can't trademark mechanics. And certainly there's been several cases in the past where things like Magic the Gathering trying to copyright the word tap and various other things like that have sort of led credence to that belief. It's not entirely true. It's going to come down to sort of copyright and trademarks and that kind of thing. But let's face it, Ravensburger have got a license from Disney. Disney have got an extremely powerful legal team, as everyone knows. And also, I believe, though I haven't seen the filing details myself, from the little bit of scuttlebutt we've seen on Twitter today, that led us to say that the suit's being filed on Wednesday, is that the actual suit won't be brought until sometime in November. And I think Disney Lorcana is coming out around about August, about sort of Gen Con time in the States. So the game's going to be out there. It's going to be out there already. Certainly there's a load of trading card games out there. There was a big glut of trading card games around about the mid-90s, proving that design, the Rush of Icor design, is absolutely unique. I personally think it's going to be very hard. From what the little bit I know of Lorcana, there's a lot of mechanics in there that I recognize from different CCGs and TCGs over the years, proving that it's absolutely unique. That's going to be difficult, I think. And like I say, Disney's legal team's behind them.
It is going to be very difficult. And just to clarify, we're recording on the 9th of June, Friday the 9th of June, so Wednesday would have been the 7th of June.
Yeah.
Just to put it into context. But I think, you can't necessarily copy or protect a specific mechanism. It'll be a combination of mechanisms, but I don't think the game itself looks like it's so different to everything else that applies here either. So that then goes back to like copyright and trademarks and things like that. But again, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, and I guess let the courts sort it out.
Yeah, we'll bring you updates as we hear them for sure. Hello everyone, this is Ian from the editing suite. A couple of hours after we recorded the cast, Ravensburger had issued a new statement on the suit from Upper Deck. The statement comes from Ravensburger North America Senior Communications Director Lisa Kruger, and we saw it on ICV2. They said, "The baseless claims filed this week are entirely without merit, and we look forward to proving this in due time." She continued, "In the meantime, our focus continues to be on developing and launching a fantastic game in August." We'll bring you more on this story as it develops.
And talking more about designers and their games, I think we've got some happy news, Ian.
Yes, this is a story we meant to actually put in the last cast because the folks behind this award reached out to us, but I totally forgot, so we're putting it in this one. But it did give us a time to secure an interview as well. Cardboard Edison, which is a site that helps out designers and has loads of great information on about if you're a new designer, how to publish and all sorts of things. They've recently announced the winner of their award and the runners-ups of that award. It's run by Chris and Suzanne Zinsley. The award recognizes and promotes great unpublished game designs, and additionally, all participants and finalists especially receive in-depth and detailed feedback from the judges panel. Submissions for the award go through 2 rounds of judging by a panel of over 50 people, being rated on engagement, originality of theme, and originality of mechanisms. And then finalists are additionally judged based on smoothness of play and fit for the target audience. This year's winner is Diatome by designer Sabrina Silva, in which players collect and place tiles to create mosaics, and diatomes are sort of molecular thing that you can find out about. We're going to put links to that in our show notes, and what we managed to secure was an interview with Sabrina, and we'll let you have a listen to that interview now. That was with myself. I'm delighted to be joined by Cardboard Edison winner Sabrina Silva. How are you doing, Sabrina?
Great.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your game Diatomes that won the award?
Sure. I'm a designer based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the US. I've been in games for a while, but only recently really in board games. Diatomes will be my second published board game, the first one that I'm publishing myself through my company, Little Liminal. Diatomes is a puzzly tile placement pattern making game where you take on the role of Victorian naturalists, collecting diatoms from water samples and arranging these single cell algae into mosaics on microscope slides, which is a real thing that began in the early 1800s and peaked in Victorian times, but honestly has only ever been practiced by a very vanishingly small number of human beings.
Yeah, I went and looked up a little bit about it, and I hadn't realized that people are doing that sort of thing at that sort of microscopic level at that time in history. Fascinating.
Yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned this is your first board game. Have you got experience in other game design?
Yeah, it's my second board game. I have a game published with my partner through Mindware, Peaceable Kingdom. But I come from video games, so that's my background.
Right, okay. I know. What sort of thing?
All sorts. So I worked for 13 years at a company called Shell Games here in Pittsburgh and did a huge variety of projects from location-based games to mobile to MMOs. So really a huge diversity of different types of game and game-like experiences.
Fantastic. So what made you want to enter the Cardboard Edison Awards?
A few reasons. I'd seen the award finalists and the winners previously, and it always seemed like a really interesting mix of games. So I liked the caliber of the award and the applicants that it drew. I love that everyone who submits gets written feedback from the judges. Love that. So that for me was a draw. I knew it would be a forcing function for me to do things like get a video pitch together, push towards a finalist rulebook. So it's helpful to have those kinds of milestones. And then, of course, if Diatoms were to be honored as a finalist, which was my main hope when I first submitted, it would mean that it would be listed permanently on the award webpage, and that would bring some attention to the game, which I already was planning to kickstart sometime in the fall. So I thought that would draw more people to the game.
Fantastic. Well, can you talk us through the process a little bit of like how the Cardboard Edison Awards sort of go, like from sort of initial like entering to sort of coming up to the final?
Sure. So you submit at the end of January, and you have to submit a pitch video and your full instructions. And then they select a group of finalists, and those finalists will send in a working prototype. I believe the deadline was sometime in April. So you have a little bit of time. And then all of the judges get together and they play the games, and then they decide on the winners.
Fantastic. So what does winning the award mean for the future of Diatoms?
Well, it's definitely raised the profile of the game and gotten more people to check it out, join my mailing list, sign up for the Kickstarter launch notification. It's also, of course, really affirming for me as the designer and the publisher. The comments from the judges were really very positive. Of course, I already believed in the game, was excited to put it out for folks to play, but it's really lovely to have other designers and folks in industry speak highly of it and enjoy playing it. So as a side note, the game that became Diatoms originally did not have a theme. It was an abstract game that I was calling at the time Fraxagon. And it was a serendipitous encounter with a sign at the Baltimore Aquarium that led me to Diatoms, which then through an internet rabbit hole led me to Diatom Mosaics. And once I discovered that, the game really found itself. So now Diatoms and Diatom Mosaics are things I can geek out about. And I find myself, telling even casual strangers about these cool silica-based microscopic life forms that come in all sorts of intricate, beautiful geometric shapes and can be found in every drop of water, and that people actually make microscopic art out of because nature and people are amazing. And please just go Google Diatom Mosaics and travel down this internet rabbit hole yourself. So I hope that the award also helps me achieve my now not so secret goal of starting a Diatoms fad.
Yeah, I mean, they are beautiful things, and we'll put some links to all that in our show notes as well.
Great.
Would you have any advice for those looking to enter the Cardboard Edison Awards in future years?
Go to the aquarium. No, not really. I think, make the game that you submit a unique game, a game that feels like it wouldn't have been made by many other people. I think the award gravitates more towards games that are indulging in something new versus games that are just polished and well put together. And there's lots of different ways to make your game experience unique. So I think it's finding those elements for your game and leaning into them that makes a game that's good for submission to this award. I would say aim for a 2-minute pitch video. I think you can submit a video that's as long as 5 minutes. But I believe the submission instructions are literally like, after 5 minutes, our judges are out. They're not required to keep watching. So,
they just tune out.
Yeah, they're basically like, we make no guarantees that your video is watched after 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And your video is not really about explaining the game fully. It's it's just, you want just enough explanation with just enough personality to get someone watching it to be interested in playing the game. You want the judges to want your game prototype in the finalist pool so they can give it a go and play it themselves.
Yeah, it's just a trailer for your game, really. It's sort of like to get people excited and interested. It's not like it's not a like Rodney Smith how to play video or anything. It's just the highlights.
And I suggest going to a con before a convention before you make your video and get your pitch teach down, the first couple minutes of teaching the game where you're still kind of enticing people to feel excited about the fact that they're going to spend their limited time at your table playing your game. And then once you have that practice spiel, that is a good basis for your video first draft.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time, Sabrina, and best of luck for Diatoms in the future.
All right. Thank you so much.
You can find all about all the things that Sabrina mentioned in that interview in our show notes. We'll put links to all the things about Diatoms and the game itself and our company. And you can find out more about each game and what the judges thought on the Cardboard Edison website. Big congratulations to Sabrina and all the runners-up.
Yeah, congratulations.
I love the Cardboard Edison Award. It's a really interesting award. It's all about unpublished games. The games can't have been published in any way or form previously. Everyone gets feedback. The Board Game Workshop, run by Chris Anderson, has a similar award. And Chris was my mentor in the Tabletop Mentorship Program for the podcast. So hello, Chris. Thanks very much for that. They just do a really good job of promoting unpublished designers, promoting really interesting games. And a lot of the runners-up as well, they tend to get published at some point down the line because they're really interesting games. They've maybe not quite sort of crossed the finish line as far as the awards are concerned, but they're still really interesting games in their own right. So we do recommend going and checking those out and keeping an eye out for those designers and games in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And I was a mentor, actually judge or whatever, on the Board Game Workshop design contest runs. And that's how I got in touch with people as well. I think generally just, promoting designers who are maybe new to the hobby or just starting or generally just unpublished games is always good. You get in touch with people like ourselves to review games, you get in touch with other designers, it builds a whole community and hopefully eventually sort of smooths the path for these games to actually become published games as well. So it's great to see, and it's great to see that process also being about feedback, not just about judging and winning.
Yeah.
Actually just taking part is sometimes actually really useful just for design to sort of get almost a free play test, but also get some constructive feedback on how the game works and how it fits and everything else. So that's great to see, definitely.
Yeah, in our interview, Sabrina said that was a really useful part of it, just getting that feedback. Even if she hadn't won, that feedback is invaluable.
Yeah.
And one of the other places you can go for that kind of feedback is UK Games Expo, which has a playtest area. But Oliver was there recently, and he's got some news from the event.
Yes, I was there. So UK Games Expo is, as we probably know, the largest hobby games convention in the UK, and it took place recently from Friday the 2nd of June to Sunday the 4th. It's now in its 16th year, and the event was back in halls 1, 2, and 3 of the Birmingham NEC, as well as occupying some rooms in the nearby Hilton Hotel. Now, we are still waiting official figures of visitors and things, but I saw a post from Andy Kybert, the founder of WinterCon, which is an annual Comic-Con style event here in Eastbourne, where I live. And I posted on LinkedIn that he was told that this year there were over 32,000 unique visitors with a total attendance of over 52,000. So just to clarify, the attendance is the number of people entering the show each day. So if a person attends all 3 days, they count for 3 of that attendance figure, whereas the unique visitors is obviously unique people. So we'll have to wait until we get the actual official figures. But I think it already looks quite amazing because both on Friday and Saturday of the event, we had train strikes in the UK, and the NEC is very easily reached by train, also by car, but other public transport isn't really that easy to get there. So seeing large numbers despite those strikes is amazing. Now, as we said, I was there for all 3 days, and even though the Friday and Sunday felt about as busy as they have been in previous years, Saturday certainly felt a huge amount busier than I'm used to anyway. And again, that's great to see. So it's a trade event as much as a consumer show. So there was a Thursday night press evening where press and publishers talked to exhibitors before the first day of the show opening on Friday. And then on the Friday evening, there was a designer publisher speed dating event, and then a chance to network as well. And of course, at the same time, the show saw the general public enjoying demos and buying games, accessories, and other products for sale. So that leaves me really just to say next year's date. So if you do want to come next year, and I'll be there, and I think Iain as well.
Yeah, I'm booked into a hotel already. I will definitely be back to Games Expo next year.
So write down the dates, Friday the 31st of May until Sunday the 2nd of June, 2024. So yeah, hope to see you there.
Entirely possible the entire Brainwaves team will be there. So yeah. Should be good.
Exciting. So yeah, as I say, generally seeing those figures is amazing, and just being there felt amazing. I say the Saturday especially, the Saturdays is usually busier day anyway. Friday tends to be more sort of business to business. Sunday tends to tail off because it's a shorter day anyway for the show. But the Saturday was so busy. I basically took my lunch break. I was demoing there for Asmodee all day, but I had a 1 hour lunch break. So I walked around, and just getting through the crowds was quite hard, which isn't normal. So, and that's both halls 1 and 2 that I went through. So it was really good. And I tried to catch up with people. Obviously, I'm busy demoing to visitors, which was great. So yeah, amazing. And I can't wait to go next year. It's to me, it's about the evenings as well, the sort of socializing afterwards. So if you're around, keep an eye out. We might be either in the halls at one of the open gaming tables, or maybe decamped to the Hilton. But I found the open gaming there is really, really busy. We didn't get a table, so we'll have to organize something. But it'd be nice to see you there and spend some time in the evenings. But next year I'm planning not to demo. I want to have some time walking around. So hopefully we bump into each other at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And Expo, bring back the beer bus. Thanks. But Games Expo did not go off without controversy entirely. W.H. Arthur at Arrol Ether on Twitter posted this on the 6th of June.
For UKGE, I offered to run RPGs by queer creators. Dreamers Q by Avery Older and Sleep Away by Jay Dragon. Dreamers Q was rejected because the organizer didn't want themes of sexuality or orientation, and reference to queerness was removed from Sleepaway's event description.
This understandably upset some who thought that Expo was censoring games based on the content. It took Games Expo a day to get a response together. They said this in a series of tweets posted on the 7th of June.
It has been brought to our attention that 2 errors were made in run-up to this year's UKGE. Firstly, an RPG scenario was rejected prior to this year's show due to subject/theme of sexual orientation. Secondly, new GMs did not receive their volunteer orientation training. On the first matter, we have reviewed the email chain between the RPG manager and the individual submitting the game and have found that this is true. UKGE does not accept scenarios containing sexual content due to the past experience of this type of content causing distress and upset to players. However, this does not extend to sexual orientation. The volunteer made an error of judgment in conflating the two, and UKG offers our unreserved apologies to the GM. It is not our policy to censor based on sexual orientation, and we failed the GM by rejecting the scenario and the volunteer by not giving sufficient support and advice. The volunteer was oversensitive to an incident that occurred in 2019 and stepped over a line. We have always tried to be an inclusive and diverse convention, welcoming all. Sometimes we make mistakes, and this was one such time.
They conclude this thread by talking about the administrative error that led to the volunteer orientation training not happening and what they would do to correct that. It is signed by Richard Denning, one of the organisers. Now, Expo definitely made a mistake here, but they've apologised and they are taking steps to correct that error for the future. I'd just like to address that there were many who wrote Expo off immediately. As soon as this tweet went out from the original author, they just wrote Expo off immediately, not allowing them to respond. And I have a problem with that. I mean, I hope when those people make mistakes, as they're going to inevitably do because they're human beings, that those around them are more forgiving than they are towards Expo. Expo overreacted. Obviously, there was an incident in 2019, which we reported on, where if I'm remembering a little bit hazily, but basically what happened was during an RPG game at the Expo, a sort of situation of sort of sexual assault was dropped on the players and was received incredibly badly, obviously, because it was completely unexpected. And Expo had issues with that GM and kicking them out and all sorts of sort of controversy around that. So I can understand Expo being a little sensitive to these issues. They've admitted they've made a mistake, that they've crossed a line there, and that they will not do that in the future. But give companies a little chance, and especially conventions, a little chance to like apologize and get themselves together and issue an apology or address things. Sure, if they double down, then fair enough, go at them. But just give people a little bit of a chance to apologize. These aren't gigantic corporations. They're run by a very small team of volunteers. Expo is run by a very small team and a lot of volunteers. And there's going to be some miscommunication there. Not everything's going to be perfect. They have apologized. They're going to address it in the future. Just give people a little bit of a chance to actually address issues before you jump down the throats.
Absolutely. And as we said, there was not just a controversy, as a GM got banned, I think, permanently from RPG circles everywhere. And it was a completely inappropriate, scenario that was set up. But anyway, that's the past. And yes, of course, of that, I think if I was in the same situation, I might hastily read that and just see sexuality, not thinking about orientation or anything like that, and immediately sort of probably panic. And as the response says, there should have probably been more discussion between the GM and UKGE and make sure it's dealt with appropriately. But these things happen. As I said, they held up their hands. They apologized. Obviously, there's not much you can do in hindsight afterwards, but going forward, they're obviously doing their best to improve things. And as we said, don't just jump at people's throats, because give them a chance to respond. And then, if they didn't offer the right response, then go for it. Absolutely. But let's wait.
Yeah, we'd be the first podcast to call UKGE out if they were doubling down on this. We would absolutely report on that. Yeah. But in this case, I think the response is pretty measured and good. And hopefully these kind of things won't happen in the future. But we will report on them if they do.
We will. And that leads us nicely to the updates. Back in episode 84, we brought you the news that workers at Paizo Publishing, creators of the Pathfinder RPG, had formed a union. United Paizo Workers has just voted to ratify their first contract with Paizo. The account on Twitter said,
"Along with raises across the board, preserved and expanded benefits, and enhanced protections for workers, this contract provides a framework for continued collaboration between union labour and management to everyone's benefit."
Thanks to Corey from Discord for bringing this to our attention. And of course, congratulations to the union for pushing for better contracts for their members. It's great to see that this is happening. And it's great to see that it's actually making a difference. So that we had this update on this piece as well. And I hope, they'll be doing more work in that way going forward, and that we find other unions forming in other places where they are needed.
Yeah, we've seen a bunch of union pushes in the States over the last couple of years in tabletop gaming, and it's great to see because, absolutely, unionize, get help for the issues you need at work. Please form a union. We support you all the way.
Now, on to the news.
Greg Isabelli, the founder of Board Game Arena, or BGA as it's more commonly known, a web-based platform to play board games online, announced on the 2nd of June 2023 in a blog post that they were leaving. Greg had the idea of launching the platform 13 years ago and decided that now,
"It is time for me to leave and let BGA stand on its own feet."
BGA was acquired by Asmodee in February 2021, as we reported in episode 67 of the cast. Since then, BGA did what was necessary to allow the company to transition to new management. As part of this plan, Greg had a free hand to recruit a team of 10 people to manage BGA and work on improving it. Then in January of this year, Alexander Schlecht started managing the company, and 3 months later in April, Emmanuel Collin, co-founder of Board Game Arena, left. Greg Isabelli's departure completes the transition. Speaking about the reasons for his departure, Greg Isabelli says that Asmodee is definitely not one of them.
"I've been very clear from the start with Asmodee. BGA buyout was part of a transition strategy to a new team to make it sustainable over time. They accepted and supported that all along the way.
Talking about the future of BGA, Greg Isabelli says that price increases are unavoidable.
The historic prices we used to have were too low. The catch-up that has been done these last 2 years was welcome. Among other considerations, something that everyone should keep in mind is that the BGA revenues are shared with premium games publishers as royalties. Significant royalties means more money to create new future games, but also make it more probable to have them on BGA.
Talking about his personal plans, Greg Isabelli says that
I'm lucky enough to be able to focus on non-profit projects. I've always found fascinating the possibility of using technology to make new kinds of social interactions possible. A specific social organization is not going very well at the moment. Representative democracy.
now it was on the cards that the current management would leave and a new team be put in place, so it's no surprise that this has now happened. I mean, we'll keep an eye on how BGA develops in the future. We talked to them about the transition around about the time that Asmodee was acquiring them. And it does sound like we'll see some price rises. I mean, that's kind of inevitable. I still think BGA is a fantastic bit of value for money. I pay for it, so I've got access to all the premium content. It's really good. I play a bunch of games in there, though less over the last couple of months because I've been quite busy. But yeah, I really, really like BGA and its offer. It's a good interface and an interesting way to play a bunch of games I might normally not get to try. So yeah,
definitely. And they keep adding new games all the time. And there's a huge list already on there. And yeah, I haven't paid for it myself, but a friend of mine has. So when we have like online board game night, we play on there a lot. So it is a great platform. So we'll just have to keep an eye and see whether it's going to be a bit too commercial, maybe. We'll have to wait what the price rises actually look like.
Indeed. But Oliver, some news about folk leaving.
Yeah, someone else is leaving. This time it is Zev Schlesinger, who has announced his departure from Wizkids, which he moved to after leaving Zeman Games, the company he helped found. Justin Ziran, president of Wizkids, said,
I would like to share my heartfelt thanks to Zev for an amazing 7 years of service. I look forward to future collaborations with Zev should our paths cross, and I sincerely hope they do.
The decision is mutual and amicable, according to ICV2. Zev said of the departure,
as with all good campaign settings and games, I look forward to my next adventures in the hobby game industry.
Well, thanks to Hal Duncan for posting this on our Discord. I don't think we have much more to add. It's just someone leaving another company. It's sort of natural progression.
I hope all the best for the future, Zev, and I'm sure he'll find a new home as he has before.
I think so. Speaking of partnerships, Ian.
Yeah, on the last cast, we reported on the firing of folk at Steamforged Games and the announcement that Steamforged had signed an exclusivity deal with Kickstarter, making Kickstarter the only place where you'll be able to back games from Steamforged Games. Following that announcement, 11 days later, Gamefound, which is a rival crowdfunding platform, announced similar deals with the following. Archon Studio, who make the Heroes of Might and Magic 3 board game. Corvus Belli, who make the Infinity Miniatures game. Flatout Games, who make Cascadia and Calico. Geek and Sun, who make a range of gaming tables. Open Owl Studios, who make Stars of Curious, Stone Saga, and Mythwind. And Van Ryder Games, who make Final Girl and Hostage Negotiator. These studios will now fund exclusively through the Gamefound platform. Gamefound said this about the partnership.
We've been developing the platform for years now, building a platform for the gaming community and by the gaming community, aimed to bring solutions not just to crowdfunding and pledge management, but specifically to the tabletop community's needs. Working directly with many of these creators over the years, we've always been able to build a better solution and ensure that the creator's voice and needs are an important part of Gamefound's continued growth and development. With these partnerships, we are making sure that this vision continues.
So an interesting announcement from Gamefound. As with the Kickstarter Steamforged collaboration, I can totally see what's in it for Gamefound. I don't quite see what it's in for the game publishers, but presumably they're getting some discount on fees that Gamefound would normally charge to them. Less of a cut goes to Gamefound, more of it goes to the companies. I can only assume that's what's happening behind the scenes. And I guess we might see if BackerKit announce something similar quite soon.
Yeah, keep an eye out for that. Yeah, the only reason as well I can see is that the fees are lower for them. They've struck a deal somewhere in some shape or form. And with prices going up at the moment, I think it's great if companies can strike those deals and make their games sort of prices stay the same, but, sort of basically cut costs to pay for other things, for increase somewhere else.
But it's Pride Month, Oliver, but that sort of news doesn't seem to have got through to the Battletech mods.
No, unfortunately not. As reported on Dicebreaker, moderators of the Battletech Reddit found themselves nuked from orbit due to the response to LGBTQ+ content being published on the forum. Many members of the Reddit had posted about the Battletech Pride Anthology fanzine and found the posts deleted or otherwise removed without warning. When pressed for explanation, moderator Mr_Severin cited a rule that said posts will not discuss
the real world, politics, or current events in this subreddit.
The moderator also said that it fell foul of their 1988 policy, which uses the year 1988 as a measure of the relevance of any posts. As many pointed out, Pride events have been happening well before that date, and also that Catalyst Games Labs, the publishers for Battletech, had posted about the anthology. Community and marketing director for Catalyst Game Lab, Rem Alternis, posted,
"The need for a safe space on Reddit was brought to my attention today. While Reddit was far down on my list to get to, I feel that our community had an urgent need for our presence and our support. Let me be clear, Battletech is for everyone, and everyone is spelt in capital letters."
So the backlash from the community brought original mod D-Devil63 out of retirement to nuke the whole mod team, as the zine creator put it. They said,
"Hello, our Battletech community. I originally created our Battletech 15 years ago because I wanted a place to talk about Battletech on Reddit. I've not been active as a moderator or contributor, but I regularly read posts and comments. Yesterday was when I became aware of the removal of the Pride Anthology post and the rightfully deserved backlash. I have no moderation or community management experience, but I'm trying my best to right any wrongs. Effective immediately, rule number 1 of our Battletech mirrors rule number 1 of our official Battletech. Battletech is for everybody. The previous rule, all posts must be Battletech related, and its 1988 stipulation have been removed. The current moderation team has been removed. I ask that you please be respectful to them. I sincerely hope they remain a part of this community."
The Battletech Pride Anthology is available for free to download on itch.io. So this gaming is for everyone, and then obviously...
Can't say more similar than that.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of things, and I was reading the story, and a lot of things don't seem make sense to me. So if anyone can point out to me why there is this 1988, or there was this 1988 policy, and what this thing is about, real-world politics or current events. I mean, I looked at the Reddit. Do people literally just post about their painted minis? Is that all this is about? I didn't quite get it. And I certainly didn't understand the sort of,
the 1988 stipulation seems absolutely strange. We've had a look. We can't see anything significant dates in 1988 about Battletech. So
yeah, Battletech seems to have been released in 1984.
Yeah.
The Reddit has been going for 15 years, so that doesn't add up. So yeah, I don't know. It's obviously bizarre, and well, I'm glad that someone stepped in and tried to right those wrongs and allow literally everyone to enjoy their miniatures and make them look however they want them to look, and promote the whole world in their own fanzine the way they want to see it. So, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, bigots the doors that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't let it hit you on the way out.
Yeah.
So we'd just like to take a moment to remind you about the Tabletop Jobs Facebook group, where you can go and look at different jobs across the world in tabletop gaming. Mostly it's US, but there are some UK jobs in there. And there's also a little event that Oliver's found. That's the LGBTQ plus board games afternoon. That is happening in the community centre at 60 to 62 Hopton Street at Thames Path, Bankside, London. It's a chance to spend a chilled Sunday afternoon playing popular board games with other LGBTQ plus folks in a relaxed environment. Some games will be provided by organisers, but you're welcome to bring along your own. Donations will go towards supporting the London LGBTQ plus community centre. So yeah, get yourself along there if you're in the area. And just want to draw your attention to a little piece that Scott from Minerva Games brought to our attention. It's about how Games Workshop have just away from satire a little bit in their recent sort of releases and over the last few years, and in doing so have made space in that hobby for the extreme right wing. It's a fairly interesting read. We'd just like to draw your attention to that it's out there. Go and give that a look.
Well, that leaves us time to shout out to our lovely Patreon supporters. James Naylor from Naylor Games, Shaun Newan, who I saw at UKG, hello, from the Gamelord team. If you want to become a patron, then you can join us at patreon.com/thegiantbrain. You can also support us in other ways. There's a page on giantbrain.co.uk/support-us-new. There's also obviously still the Metallic Dice Games promo code that you can use, roll with brains, all one word, all uppercase. That gives you a little discount and gives us a little cut off anything that's sold that way. And finally, if you want to grab yourself some swag from the Sir Meeple shop as well, sirmeeple.com. But of course, all the links are in the description or on the site. Now, we want to end on a light story, as we always do, and we've got something light in the sense of, well, these are Warhammer Stamps. So if you want to show your loyalty to the Emperor, why not send him a lovely note with a Warhammer stamp on it? The stamps are available in all sorts of formats. There are framed ones in collectors and presentation packs and in various other limited edition forms, some which you can actually put on mail. The stamps show images from across the Games Workshop's catalogue, from the original Rogue Trader to more recent titles like Age of Sigmar. All available from the Royal Mail store or eBay, where friend of the show, Richard from Weird Wizards, has been responsible for listing them. And I'm a bit of a stamp collector myself, so I had a quick look.
Okay.
And yes, there are like first day covers, there's first day envelopes, so the first day covers tend to be the things that people want, with stamps on there. There's full sheets, which is always nice, including the borders. And yeah, the prices are quite nice, so you can start quite low, just get yourself a nice stamp, or get a fan sheet, which is £7.50 apparently, and yeah, presentation packs. It's all there for anyone and everyone. Nice to see.
Fantastic. And do let us know what gaming stamps you would most like to see. I mean, a Catan one would seem nice, to celebrate Klaus Teuber. A game that has like seeped its way into sort of like the sort of family games and like the sort of games you might have in your house, beside Cluedo, Monopoly, that kind of thing.
And also, if you want to get in touch with us and send us a letter, use one of these stamps as well. We'd
yeah, absolutely. So thanks very much for listening, everyone. If you like what you listen to, then the best way to help us out as ever is to just share the podcast and drop us a review and rating on your podcast host of choice. You can also follow Oliver at the tabletopgamesblog.com. You can join our Discord. There'll be an invite in the show notes. Our Twitter is at The Giant Brain. We're on Instagram as Giant Brain UK. Our Facebook page is The Giant Brain. All our posts and everything go on thegiantbrain.co.uk, and you can email us about anything in the show or any bits of news you'd like us to cover. Or if you just want to contact us anonymously about anything as well, then it's giantbrainuk@gmail.com. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with more tabletop news. Bye for now.
See you then. Bye.